to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I've got a couple of housekeeping items that I want to just touch on before we start this evening. First and foremost, and part of the reason that I apologize is I wanted to thank our veterans. As we are going into one of those weekends, there is a lot of focus on our veterans, and any opportunity that I and the town board can show our deepest appreciation, I think it's it's very deserving, and personally I just want to thank you. So I think there's a lot of members of our community that their veteran story actually goes untold, and I have been a good fortune to get to know you and just realized it. So thank you. And thank you.
And what is your name, sir? I don't think I know you.
You know? Oh, Forrest.
Okay. Thank you.
This evening, we had tentatively planned a member of our media outlet from Wyrie. Dave was going to help moderate this evening. Unfortunately, he has some activities that have taken him out of pocket. So we'll just kind of go free form. They call it popcorn style. We're not having you sign in. You don't need to use your names if you don't want to. If you want the veil of, to be anonymous and such. I hope that you will share your names, though, if you have questions, comments, or concerns, so that we can better address them to you folks. But let me introduce myself. My name is Michael Casper. I'm the Plattsburgh Town Supervisor. There are definitely some familiar faces in the audience tonight. It's good to see many of you, and it's great to see some new faces. And I'll have the board introduce themselves.
I'm Megan LaFave. I'm Michael's deputy supervisor, and I've been on the council since 2015.
Marty Vance, Town Council.
Barb Huber, Town Council.
Fantastic. Thank you. A couple more housekeeping items, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of why we're here today. I did leave some blue slips out there. Hope you folks will take one. It's just to sign up for the news and notices. Some of you may have already done so. It's great to hear that feedback. Largely, it's an experiment. We are experimenting with a number of things. I firmly believe, and I know that the board also does, in accessible leadership, and we are really trying to promote more communication with constituents, residents, and taxpayers. Some of the things that we're doing to leverage, communications tools are the e-news and notices. We've put our meetings on YouTube, not only for the town board, but our zoning board is on there, and our planning board is on there as well, thanks to Ricky's assistance. We're also using social media, and I often hear, surprisingly enough, that's the younger generation on social media. When my grandmother got on Facebook, I knew that Facebook had changed. So, you personally may not be on it, but I know many folks, all generations are on there. So what we're trying to do is, there's no silver bullet to the way that we communicate with our constituents. So we're trying to use multiple tools to do that. So feedback is very much open and appreciated. So we'll help you sign up. I'd also like to thank the Cumberland Fire Department for allowing us to use this space. This meeting tonight was open to all members of our community. One of the reasons that we decided to hold the meeting here tonight was, in the past, when we've had regional meetings, we've had a fairly successful experience getting people to come out. It's had its ups and downs as far as members, but it's great to see so many of you out here tonight. So thank you for spending some time with us this evening. With that, I'll shut up. And really what tonight is about is it's to listen to you folks. The good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. Have a dialogue. We'll try to answer questions that are appropriate where we can. We may not have the answer right here and now, but we'll try to get you it. And I'll just couch it in the last thing. I always say this when I'm doing a forum or having a conversation with someone. my wife and I have made the ultimate agreement to live with each other for the rest of our lives, with the understanding that we are not going to agree 100% of the time. I don't know if any of you are married in the room, or if you have siblings, or a friend, or a coworker. Same thing here. There probably is going to be something that we may not agree on, but ultimately the one thing that I respect most about our community is we can have good, healthy conversations to try to come up with the best for, what we're all working towards.
So no body slams.
I did leave in a read-up opening here. So with that, I will really just kind of open it up. People can kind of jump in. They can raise hands. We'll kind of do this free-form style. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Can I ask, would everybody be comfortable introducing themselves? If you're not, you can just go past, but I think it's nice to know who we're talking to.
Courtney Reinhardt, retired teacher of some years, and live in Cullen Point Road.
I'm a student vicar. I live on Cumberland Pit Road. I teach young people for a living. I teach at SUNY Plattsburgh.
What do you teach?
Politics.
Nancy Olson, I'm Forest neighbor, and I've been here since 1981, and I was a physical education teacher for 30 years.
I'm Eileen Allen, and I live between Forest and Nancy. And I too am a teacher at Plattsburgh State.
I'm Bob Barr, I'm just living life now.
Linda Masters, I've lived in Cumberland for 43 years.
Dave Rakowski, live off of Barton Road, been here 20 years.
Just a rookie.
Valentino Leclerc, been in Champlain Park 47 years, and with the fire department for 40 years.
Nice.
I'm Debbie Blake. What's the name? And I have kind of lived in Champlain Park since '57.
Ken Cook. I grew up on Cumberland Head, and I moved off Cumberland Head 50 years ago. But I come back once in a while.
My name is Amy Robinson, and I was born in Plattsburgh, and I've lived in the town of Plattsburgh probably for 25 years.
Andy from the Press Republican.
For you young gentlemen.
Rick Collins, town clerk.
Ricky.
Thank you, guys.
Thoughts, opinions, feelings?
Can we get some assistance from the town regarding abandoned vehicles? I understand that everyone is allowed by New York State law or statute or something or other, that you can have one unlicensed vehicle on your property. And I use that to my advantage for about 6 months, maybe a little longer. But there's a vehicle that has sat in the same place for at least 3 years, maybe longer. I did call the town about it, and they basically quoted the code that couldn't do anything about it. But could we perhaps get some assistance in trying to track the owner of the vehicle or the property and writing them a letter and saying, hey, this vehicle has been there for X number of years. Can you do something about it, or can we have permission to get rid of it or something?
I think, these are the types of complaints or issues that we face on a regular basis, right? Beautification of our community, codes and zoning violations, etc. I won't ask you to say what the address is. You're looking to call out a neighbor, but if you come and see us, we'll get the address, we'll get some more detail, and we'll follow up on that.
And also, I don't know if there's not a problem with you approaching the vehicle, it could be worthwhile for you to take some pictures. If there's anything living about in that vehicle, You know?
Well, I have been close enough to know that there's at least 1 or 2 hornets nests.
Well, you know, if you can get any identifying numbers off the vehicle.
There aren't license plates.
No, but.
There are no license plates. Which makes it actually a little bit easier to address, honestly, without the license plates.
The last inspection sticker was Vermont, and there is, of course, for Virginia as well.
And it could actually be an abandoned, you know, a totally abandoned vehicle. And if that can become something that we're able to get some evidence to that effect, that makes a difference. Where I was going was if there's any evidence that it's in any way a health hazard or any kind of a hazard to the neighborhood, that can be something that can allow us to.
Yeah, it's, you know, there's 3 feet of grass growing around it.
Yeah.
There's nothing around there.
Okay.
Yeah, let's connect and we'll get some more details. Yep.
On that same line,
Sure.
can the town do anything about these homes in Champlain Park that are empty and have been empty? They've got notices on the front doors that some bank and Timbuktu that has, but the grass is like that, and they don't, I mean, one of them is in really bad shape. I don't know.
Not in a like funny haha way, more like a, just the irony of the situation. I talked with our codes office today about that very issue, because once you get into the spring season, right, and the snow's gone, the high grass starts to kind of grow back up and a number of things. So approximately, all homeowners shouldn't have grass that's any higher than about 10 inches, okay? So that goes kind of town-wide, not just for these abandoned properties. And we take it upon ourselves to work on getting these properties mowed down. We are now working with the Cumberland County Treasurer's Office. Kimberly Davis has sent a notice to us that she would like to be involved in the process of how we're doing the chargebacks to the county.
For maintenance.
Yes, so which frustrates me a little bit because it's just one more layer of bureaucracy. I haven't had a chance to fully engage her in that conversation, just to give you a heads up on that situation. But the Codes and Zoning Department are already actively looking for people to go out and start doing the mowing. Our folks do not do the mowing for insurance reasons. So many times people go, well, why can't the town's, highway crew or building and grounds crew get out there and mow it? It's because of insurance reasons. So we're already working on that.
There is some recent legislation that was passed at the state level that mandates that banks or lending institutions that are now the owners of the property effectively because of foreclosure processes have a responsibility to maintain the upkeep of residences and neighborhoods.
Now, did you say county or state?
State.
State?
State.
It's the same, yeah. I actually became aware of it as well because of under the guise of zombie properties, and it's interesting because the foreclosure process within New York State is we probably are top in the nation in terms of the length of foreclosures as far as it takes to have them done. And so I think they're trying to create some sort of collaboration between the banks and helping the municipalities not bear the burden of what Michael was talking about. In the meantime, there are things in place to help.
It's just that, the longer they sit there vacant, the worse condition they're in, and it makes all of our places look bad too.
And I'll directly connect with what you're saying. So I lived in Champlain Park for about 10 years on a street that had a house that was, as kindly of a word I can come up with, in disrepair, and eventually, it was taken down. But I empathize. We're actively trying to streamline some of those processes for a number of reasons. health and safety. You know, we don't want kids going in there. There's obviously a number of issues with opioid. I mean, just there's a lot of issues.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Sure.
I had to write this down because I forget stuff. I just wanted to say a few things, and one of them is I'm very pleased with the town recreation department. Both Mal and Aaron, and our activities for the seniors, for all different age levels, for the youth activities, and I think they have a wonderful program. They're very enthusiastic, the participants are enthusiastic, and it really helps make a healthy community. And actually, I was on the kayak trip today, and there were 20 boats, and I was so-called the expert birder. I'm not, I was just there. And we went off Scamotion Creek, and I don't know how many of you have been in a boat up Scamotion Creek? Not too many. So it's a wonderful area, and I think it's a federal wetland, and it's really, you know, a hidden gem. And just an aside, a couple of years ago, Colin Reed suggested that twice I actually heard of it, that the city sewer plant be moved to Scamotion Creek. You know, and I mean, there's so little water exchange, I don't think it could really do it, and of course the Saranac River has a lot of water, just, you know, just a point of interest. Also, I'd like to mention our community group that we have is called Cumberland Head Tomorrow. We've been inactive somewhat since Frank passed away, so we're looking for a leader or a president, and it's not going to be me. So, the group was started in 1993, hopefully to kind of preserve the idea of the rural quality of Cumberland Head and, you know, environmental concerns. And our members initiated the petitions for the McDonough Highway, and also came up with the name to honor Commodore McDonough, and also suggested that there be a off-road bicycle trail, and also suggested the Hager Heritage Trail, which cut through part of Jane Hager's farm. So for the last 8 years, and this was the 17th road pickup that we've done last Saturday. And I don't know if you know, but the road is 6.1 miles. And if you look around at the highway signs all over, you don't see any that are this long, 6.1 miles. And Jim Woods has been great. He delivers the pickers and the hats and the vests and the bags and everything to me on the Thursday before the cleanup. And then, you know, we get our crew together, and then the guys pick everything in the bags that we filled up, and most of it's at the McDonough Historic Site, and they take the stuff away. And I just have to say, and during those 8.5 years, Michael has been the first person from the town who's actually come by to see what we're doing and to thank us. Nobody else, other than the town highway department, has ever come by to see what we've done and to thank the group. So I'd like to thank you, Michael, again. And
that was unnecessary, but
I know, but you did, and it shows that you care about our neighborhood as much as we do. So that's enough for now. I guess so. That's the first page. That's part of it. It's the good stuff.
Other questions, comments, concerns? Sure.
A number of people, including my neighbors, will know I only moved back on Cumberland Head 7 years ago. Actually, also lived out of the area about 50 years. But my father and my brother both had businesses up on the beach road, going back to 1947 and 48. If you go to the museum, in fact, you'll still see a Studebaker Motel poster there. So we do have some connection. And having lived a lot of places and got a lot of local government, national, I want to say I have shared with Michael earlier, I've been only impressed in the last 20 years with the direction that the city, the town, and the county have gone, what seems to me, to meet common objectives for the community, and you're doing it really well. I get a sense of growth that reminds me very much of the little city I lived in when I used to walk from Fort Cornelia up to normal school. Now Hawkins Creek. And it was just an absolutely great community to be in, be a part of, and it's great community to act part of it. And as Nancy made a mention here, I just also particularly like to commend, I think the roads crew is just absolutely one of the best in the world. It just continuously amazes me how they deal with the worst shifts in weather and sand, and then come around and pick up the sand later, which is also very nice. So I really think that all bears note.
Jim did want me to let the community know that sand pickup for the season is done. He was very happy about that. So, but he wanted me to extend thank you for everybody's patience, because this year was a little bit wetter when they were starting that, so it got delayed in a couple of spots. Thank you.
Michael, the town is planning a $24 million bond issue for capital improvements, or a capital issue for infrastructure improvements, wind and water and sewer department. How far along is that now?
Well, I'll add your statement only to the point of anticipated. And the reason I bring that up is we are actively looking for a number of funding sources that will alleviate any of the burden, and we'll also be using some of our reserves that we've been actively kind of sitting on for a number of years. People have heard me say this a number of times, that I really want to take the politics out of water. That's one area that I think we all can agree on, that we want to be able to turn the faucets on and have good, clean, dependable water. And it really breaks into three areas. And I promise I'll get to your thing. But to me, it kind of falls into three areas. One is sustainability of the reliable source. The other is the economic development of the community. A lot of the businesses are looking for that water source. And then there's economic development, sustainability, and then the health of your community. So between those three things, that's kind of the lens of which what we're looking through our capital plan. The first action that we took is we passed the resolution last week or the week before last with Suez. Suez is a company that is going to help us refurbish some of our water tanks and also to do general maintenance on it. That takes the politics, that's one of the first actions that we're doing to take the politics out of it, because boards come and go, okay? And I think there's a lot of worry from time to time that no one wants to raise rates, right? No one ever wants to pay more. But to put it in perspective, I think it is the rate for every 1,000, it's per quarter, individuals are spending about $40.95 for a minimum usage of 7,000 gallons of water, okay? That was up from $39 last year per quarter. So our rates are...
That's for 6 months.
No, that's for 3 months. That's a quarter.
Yeah, the quarter.
I thought it was 20-something a quarter.
That's the minimum. I think.
Yeah, well, you just said.
40 if you got
Oh, I
sewer.
thought you said the average.
Right, and that's why I'm saying around the
You
average.
saying the average, you saying the minimum?
Around the average, okay? So then, in general though, what we have found across the nation, and really here locally, our water rates are pretty low. But we have a significant level of infrastructure. And you'll have read, probably in the Press Republican, that, when I met with Dan and talked about all these miles and miles of pipe. Now, I think some misinterpreted that as, that we're addressing the pipes. What we're talking about is we just have a huge infrastructure. You have to be mindful of that, and you have to start somewhere. So we're starting with maintenance of our tanks, and then we're going to be looking at lift stations. We're actually actively hoping to drill a new well over at May Carrier, so that gives us more capacity for water, because we're seeing more and more subdivisions in the community, more businesses in the community, so it's a multi-layer. So we're at the first stage, Debbie, and we will continue to move through that over the course of the next several months. Next week, I'm hoping to have a resolution before the board. They don't even know this yet, because we weren't sure. Surprise! There is, and I'll screw up the name, it's basically like a Northern Alliance, something. It's some federal grants that we'd like to apply for, upwards of $500,000. It's very unlikely that we'll get the $500,000, but I'm of the opinion, as a taxpayer myself, if I can get anything, then we need to look at that and leverage it. So that's why it's slow. I often phrase that government works at glacial speed, right? But at least we're moving forward.
So do we have the funds to refurbish the tanks? Because I think that was kind of the first.
That's predominantly coming out of the reserves.
It is.
That's the way that we're looking to use the reserves to actively begin to move this. And I have phrased this capital plan as aggressive, and the reason that I have phrased it as aggressive is if government isn't inching things along and moving it forward, then it just constantly stays in the state of, analysis, what is it, paralysis by analysis type of thing. We gotta move some things forward.
No, that's good.
And the answer, kind of specifically, particular in this group, and Meg, jump in if you think I say anything, misstate anything. We had a meeting of the Water Wastewater Committee today, and one of the things that's going to happen right off will be a power cleaning of the water tower here. Okay, there are 2 water towers in the town that the people that came in and did the analysis have told us, in their opinion, do not need to be descaled and repainted, that they feel they can be power washed, and that they will then be able to be fully utilized. And so we're going to start with those. One is yours and the other is Cliff Havens. Yeah, and so that's, and that's not a high cost approach to it. So that's not something we're going to have to borrow money to do. We're going to be able to do that out of operating funds in the water department. But that's kind of the approach that we're going to be utilizing. And we're going to have some tanks that, are going to have to be descaled and scraped down and repainted, etc. To be taken offline for that process, and that's really a summertime process that will have to go on. So that'll be occurring, and we will pray that we don't have any big fires or anything else going on. We don't need a comfort in fire in the middle of all of that. One of those fires that really.
I do have, and I'll go up to my car in a little bit and get it. It was raining and I forgot. I was just trying to get it on. So I do have a poster board that has all of the projects that we're working on. So you can get a kind of a 500,000 view of what we're looking to do.
I really hadn't intended to talk about, to even say anything tonight, but the conversation is pretty interesting. I also go back a long way. I came to Plattsburgh in '72 and moved, by luck, about a block away from Art LaHaye in Morrisonville. And Art was a driving force, as was Marty, in what I saw, at least over the years, the development of the town of Plattsburgh, along with a lot of competing political tensions, but nevertheless. But I also moved away. I lived in Canton, where I taught at St. Lawrence, and then in Skidmore in Saratoga Springs. And Saratoga especially, development ran it over. When I first went through Skidmore, or not Skidmore, but Saratoga Springs, it was a little sleepy village. And a couple years later, while I was there 9 years. In those 9 years, you couldn't drive. You couldn't get across the interstate to get to the malls on the outside of town. And what I sense for the first time, since I've been in and around, never really rented, but always had property in Clinton County, a home in Clinton County, we're looking for the first time at the kind of development that has never been here. It's been a sleepy little town. If there was a 3 or 4 car congestion at 5 o'clock, it was disturbing. But you can see what's happening. The titanium plant, Nova, the Mardier, and the airport development, more than anything else, I suspect is going to draw, and it's all going to be in the town of Plattsburgh, as I see it. I'm just wondering, to get to my point, I suppose, beyond the infrastructure, which I think is incredible, that it's maintained and it's thought about, planned, as well as it is, are we thinking about where these people are going to live? How they're going to get, I'm ignorant, I must say, but I don't see enough discussion in the paper about those issues, I would like to come to more meetings. I apologize that I haven't, but, so I'm not going to say much more. I don't have the notes. If I had notes, I could say but I'm just wondering if you could maybe then come with just a few words about what is going on in terms of thinking about planning.
President of Corky had notes with 156 pages.
Let me capture in the spirit of a couple little pockets. I think that the town of Plattsburgh, in many respects, is very fortunate to be the home of the aerospace, the manufacturing clusters, of these jobs. When you come to town hall around 3:30, okay, if you want to get off the Baker Road, plan on waiting, okay? But, and I know some people can very easily get frustrated, but that's directly connected to jobs. That's connected to people's employment. And yes, do we have pockets in corridors that kind of get jammed up? We do. And I'll tell you this quick funny story. A number of months ago, I was across town, and I had to be home for dinner. And I called my wife, and I was running a little bit late. And I said, it'll probably be about 10 minutes. And I was bemoaning as I was on speakerphone in my car. And she goes, okay, 10 minutes. And we got home, and as we were having dinner, she's from Long Island. You can't get like 2 blocks within like a half hour sometimes. I'm from Cape Cod originally, the Cape traffic in the summer. So I think we all get spoiled within certain conditions. We most definitely, though, as a community, do work on our codes, our zoning, and our planning. Is it perfect? No, it's not. I'll be the first person to say, when a community thinks that they've got it perfect, that's when your imperfections come rearing out and bite at you. So we're constantly kind of reworking at some of that stuff. The plaza going into the Consumer Square, there's a new development that someone's looking to bring in Chick-fil-A. And I'm less excited about the Chick-fil-A than I am about that intersection. I think is going to be improved at that light and make it less dangerous because of how they're going to move some things around. If you try to get into the hotel, into the vet place, and then get into Five Guys, and then you're making there's just a lot of congestion there. So they're already looking at some of the larger planning needs in the busier corridors, the stacking, the waiting, all the things you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not actually just thinking about congestion and traffic.
Yeah.
But the housing, the location close to these sorry.
I'll just offer a comment. I think you'll see some development, significant developments, 250 to 300 homes clustered together, kind of, developments. You may see that type of development that, will happen. But it may surprise you as to where that will end up because of the cost of land. It may not end up in the town of Plattsburgh. That may end up in the town of Peru, or it may end up in the town of Beacontown, or, but then the issue may come down to water and the availability of water. And some of those towns have fairly limited access to water to be able to handle that kind of, and developers not only want to look at the cost of the land, but they want to look at what kind of an infrastructure is available to them. And when somebody says you've got to develop the source, and then you've got to bring the source to your land, that really backs them up, because they want to move, and they want to move quickly. And when I say they want to do that, and they want to do that quickly, Norsk Titanium, by November 2019, they're going to be talking about, a permanent workforce of probably 400 to 500 employees, and we don't have a housing stock in Plattsburgh. If you pick up that paper on a Saturday, you're lucky if you see 15 homes for sale in the paper. I mean, that's not what, these people who may, you're talking about, in many cases, you're talking about people who have engineering degrees and the like, who are going to be coming in here, and, they've got in their minds what they want to find for a home, okay? And they may not find very many of those options when they pick up that paper. So they're going to be looking for that, and you're going to find that there are going to be developers who are build it. And likewise, you're going to have other developers who are going to be developing a housing stock. There's a gentleman who's building homes up on off 374, and he's building homes that are selling between $185,000 to $250,000, and just as fast as he's finishing those homes are sold. Just as fast as he finishes it, and he's from Vermont.
Yep.
Why we don't have, and we have home builders, but we don't have a North Country home builder who's done that. Well, he did. He comes from Vermont every day to do that. And that same gentleman bought a whole series he bought 2 streets of land in Peru and built homes in Peru that were priced in the $290,000 range, sold them like that.
Just one real quick word. I went through Peru by Schroeder, and where the titanium plant is going to be, or facility, it's already, the presence is there.
Yes.
Through Peru?
It's, where's Schroeder? Is that in Peru or Schroeder?
That's out of Plattsburgh.
Yes.
Well, the explosion of housing I had been, they're not big homes, but they're nice, they're smaller homes. But it's an explosion of activity there that I was unaware of.
That's a Plattsburgh builder who's been building those homes.
Yeah.
But a lot of times this development happens very quietly. And you will go to a neighborhood you didn't know was there.
Yeah, I'm not
10
concerned
years ago.
about it loud or quiet. I'm just, again, as Marty said, it's sometimes surprising where the housing goes.
Right.
And I'm wondering if we're as aware as we might be of what's coming.
I think that Plattsburgh is on the map now more than it's ever been, and there are people with the capital to come in and build these developments where are showing a lot of interest. And I just say it's happening quietly because you're probably not going to see it in the
Yeah. Well, Dick Code is building like this other gentleman. He's building
He's
condos
building
and they're going again.
Following on Corky's point, because I actually moved down to Saratoga for a couple of years, and I watched what happened down there. The big problem was that most of what was replacing the local businesses were people who were from out of state, from Florida, Texas, God knows where, and who were investing in. I was very happy to see Morris come in because that's solid backing, that's the right kind of funding, that's not fly-by-night banking. Anyways, I'm happy to see the development because when I first got back here in '97, all I heard was the base, the base, the base, and I said, what about the wind section, and the timpanis and whatnot? Why is everybody concentrating on the base? Now, that was a major cut at that time. We've gone through that process. I think there's been a lot of rational development since then. And I think what I would share an expression on is it sounds as though this is being approached rationally. You look at downtown, number of restaurants that have opened in the city, you look at the businesses gradually, housing, yes, but down in the long run also, one of the things we need to maintain is younger population in this area. I haven't got anything against old people, obviously. And we need also to raise the tax base. And if it's solid in that way, and it doesn't just something that is passed over, I don't see it happening to somebody who's just up here to exploit and make a quick buck. It's fine.
One of the things that I think that's really, you touched on it earlier about the sense of the town, the city, the county, and really all the other communities working together. I compare it back to where I come from, Massachusetts, people would often refer to as the greater Boston metro area or Cape Cod. It might not be a specific town, but people from Peru will sometimes say, yeah, I'm from Plattsburgh. It's a region. And there's a lot of conversations that have been occurring over the years and will continue about shared service and collaboration. I am not looking for the city to collapse into the town. Let me just be very clear on that, okay? For a number of reasons. But I think that there are opportunities to collaborate and to promote the region. And one of the easiest examples that I can use is take Norse or take Schluter or even some of the smaller businesses. If you go to their website, they don't say City of Plattsburgh. They don't say Town of Plattsburgh. They just go Plattsburgh. And in fact, because of the slicing and dicing that New York State does with the hamlets and the zip codes and all that other stuff, Plattsburgh and Morrisonville and all that stuff is spread out in all these different corners. But there's such a unique interest now to promote the region, and I think that Peru, for example, will become one of the bedroom communities to our industrial jobs, etc., which is really kind of interesting. Just a couple of quick numbers that you might find interesting. The Codes and Zoning Office last year issued about 459 building permits last year. Okay? The Zoning Board had about 77 items that they reviewed with approximately 450 square feet of commercial/industrial development. I mean, so some of this is new and some of this is, redevelopment or money added back in. Talking about water produced, it was about 536 million gallons of water through the town. So really what we're looking at is, the infrastructure, the development, the stress and the push and the pulls that it puts on some of those things.
You don't mean 450 square feet.
450,000
square feet. Hello?
Yeah. We put up
And
one shed,
50 gazillion
very
gallons of
modern, 450,000.
A tiny house.
Wait a
for me personally, I'm fortunate enough to move if I have to, if I get squeezed out or something like that, or your privacy's taken away or whatever, okay? Although I have put a lot of money in my house, so it does make it difficult. What does the coding people do? When you talk about, I get the development, I get you need young people, although, you know, I don't like having, you know, finally, I lived in a quiet place for so long, and I've got screaming kids. I've got kids that scream all day long, all summer. You know, and it's gone. My whole quality of life really is gone in my house. So, with that being said,
Are they your kids?
no. I'm just making a point. The point I'm making is I have the option, hey, if you don't like it, leave. That would be what I would have to do. However, when I look around and I get the development, it's important for the tax base, but I see less fortunate, low-income people, older people that maybe have lost their jobs, that don't work anymore. And they're in, you know, their nice little place, and then all of a sudden, boom, right next to their house, they build monstrosities that don't even reflect anything around the neighborhood. How is that allowed? And then the people that have these houses, then it's up to them to build their privacy. Like when initially, I had to put $5,000 worth of bushes in to maintain my privacy. And even that doesn't do it because of the big window that looks down in my whole house.
And those damn kids.
No, I mean, seriously. I mean, how does the coding audit, you know, I put an addition in my house, all right? This is like this coding office, I swear. I put an addition in my house. The contractor meets on Friday. That week, he's gonna come back on Monday with the coding officer to check it, right? He has a chimney fire somewhere in Lake Placid, right? I go that weekend, I wanna make sure everything's working. I put the TV up, I put all kinds of stuff up. Monday morning, the coding office calls me up and said, somebody called anonymously and you're living in your addition. Give me a break, man. You know, it's like a one-way street all the time. There's no protection. So myself, like I said, I have the option. I'm fortunate. I've made a good living for myself. But you know, I feel bad when I see these people that I don't know what happens to them. They're in a house that they've been in there. They've probably been there for like 50 years, and all of a sudden, all around them, man, these monstrosities are being built. And there's no protection for these people. I get the development and I get the need for the taxes, and I get that. It's just that I just feel that the town should take some initiative to protect the privacy of these people. Like if you're gonna build a house here, then hey, build some privacy for these people. Why do you put the onus on them?
Now, I want to say, if I can, real quickly, I agree with you 100%. I wasn't saying
Oh, no, I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't.
But your point is so well taken. When we're talking about bringing in industry, the town of Plattsburgh, I just think it's been great over the years. It really has been. I've been happy the years I've lived here. It's always been fantastic. We do have a very good community. As I say, you can see that there might be some issues, and then the issues of housing, affordable housing for people, elderly housing for people, congestion, all of these
Affordable housing,
questions.
senior housing, and any other sort of groups that would need assistance with housing, there are several nonprofits in this region that are competing for sizable grants. So we're going to see some of that development come in.
I'm just wondering, what is the board doing at that level?
In response to your question, the only way that can be protected is in covenants in the deed. if the person who's doing the development states that these lots will be sold, but they will only be sold for homes that will be single-level homes. And and they can write in there that no home will be more than X number of feet tall, and no home will be more than X number of square feet in size. That's the only way that someone can have that knowledge that they won't have, because I know exactly what you're talking about. We had a couple of very unfortunate examples of people who had homes along the lake, and they had a lake view, and then someone came in and bought this camp that was next to them, and then they built this home that was 3 stories high, and they're down here in this single-story home, and now they've got something where, they've only got, a view out of 2 rooms in their home that used to be a home that had views from 5 or 6 rooms. And it's, to them, it's depressing. And there's nothing
Sally's not
that anybody can do about it.
No, that's that's the part that bothers me. Who covers this? And as the top, and it's funny because that's 3 of us that seen this thing happen in Saratoga Springs. I live in Saratoga Springs.
I'd like to tie one other thing, and then I want to go to your question or your comment. So one of the unique things about municipal governing is we have these boards. We have a planning board, we have the zoning board of appeals. Those members are actually members of the community, non-paid. And one of the things that I would like to do in the future, honestly, is I would like to have an open source application for people to get appointments on that board. For many years, and I'm not finger waving in our own board, I'm just calling it for what it is. I think we need to be more global in the way that we reach out for recruiting members to our boards that have seen things, have experienced things, and that's helpful. I think also at the same level, you don't necessarily want your town board to be leaning into the ZBA and the planning board and making political, decisions. Who's got money? Who knows this person? So I agree with you. That's one of the biggest imperfections in all municipalities, because at some point you have to make the decision. What's been done in the past is no longer going to be allowed in the future. So where's that past precedence?
I got a couple comments on
Sure.
that. Marty's example of the guy who lives on the lake and somebody else bought that lot next door.
Yep.
That guy should have bought the lot next door if he didn't want anybody there.
And you couldn't afford it.
Well,
Right?
yeah, but did he know that lot was even for sale? There's
Maybe not, but
there's no or
if he wanted to control that lot, he should have bought it.
There is.
Yeah.
That's the same.
somebody takes it, man, and they get it right from underneath you, and there's nothing. And when I asked about it, they said, "Oh, the guy doesn't operate that way." It's like,
When I grew up on Cumberland Head, there was 40 families that lived year-round on the head. There was 15 kids on the school bus. All of Cumberland Head, then we had to go up the Moffett Road and fill up the bus. That's all there was. So the loss of privacy of people from then to now
yeah.
is a lot. Now, when I bought my house, I bought a house on the Duran Road. I've got 1,000 feet of road frontage. I don't have neighbors right looking in my window, That's how I solved my problem.
Yeah, Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm fortunate enough where if I have that option, but I see people that don't have that option,
Could I make a comment?
that couldn't foresee this.
The zoning ordinance, whenever a municipality makes a zoning ordinance, the more tightly things are zoned, the less freedom people have. If your zoning ordinance says, this piece of property, this piece of property, this piece of property, this piece of property, this piece of property can only have a house of a certain size, of a certain, so many stories, you're now limiting what people can do on their own property. So, do you want government to tell you what everybody can do on their property within the town of Plattsburgh? Or do you want to be free to do what you want to do with your property? It's a juggling act.
Yeah, it is.
It is a juggling act, and our zoning ordinance doesn't say, you can have a house here, you can have a 10-story house here. It limits certain things in certain areas. If on the other hand, as Marty's talking about, covenants, if a developer buys 500 acres of land and he wants to put up 500 houses, it's within his purview to say, I'm going to place covenants on this property so that all the houses fit within my concept. And he can do that. However, if down the line, somebody decides he wants to add 3 stories on his house and that's not within the covenant, the government can't do anything about that. It's up to the people who live in that area where the covenants are placed to go to court against the person who is doing something that is not in the covenant. It's not up to government to solve the problem for you. I mean, you have to be aware of how government works and what it can and can't do. And how much government control do you want in your life?
We have to be aware of how it works. And if you're not aware of how it works and you learn about it too late, you can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
So you got people, they're not here. What, 10 people? How many people you got in the town of Plattsburgh? You got 10 people here? I'm sure there's more problems than this.
But I go to every single meeting, and I'm out there doing my civic duty, knowing and learning and knowing what government can and can't do. So, and I would suggest that more people do that.
Just like,
Sorry.
like I said, jump right in.
All I want to say is, it's good to know your neighbor. It's good to say to your neighbor, look, if you're ever going to sell, let me know. Maybe I can buy it, maybe I can. You know, that's basically what you can do. That's basically it.
I think that's a really good point. When we're talking about development and our town is about to change and we're going to witness it, but we have the ability to keep our community strong and the way it is now by knowing our neighbors and by staying in touch with each other and, you know, living close to the ground and making our community exactly what we want it to be. It can be developed. It doesn't mean it has to get away from what it is, what we like about it, all the positive things that are here.
I would take that general concept, you know, a step further. It's amazing. My office is very much a complaint department, which is fine, you know. And one of the questions I always ask though is, did you talk to your neighbor? You know, and sometimes people don't think about that. I know it sounds really goofy, but some people just, you know, it's, you know, you have a reaction, and rightfully so. There's something that's wrong or needs to be addressed. But I always tell people, imagine if you were in the other situation and the codes or zoning officer came knocking and said, something's not working here. Well, how did you find out about this situation, right? Now you're going, is it my neighbor to my right or my left, or is it, you know, so if you're at the mailbox one day and you're doing the casual, you know, wave and stuff, and you wave them over and say, hey, just want to let you know, your dog's been barking a little bit, you know, more than usual, or, you know, I noticed that, you know, your lawn hasn't been mowed, you know, like, sometimes there's something in the situation that can be remedied so much more rather than becoming the powder keg where the McCoys and the Hatfields, type thing, because of that one instance. And that's usually where we as a society, I think, really kind of break down, because we don't have that face-to-face conversation to remedy the one issue. People then go, oh, well, if my neighbor's being a jerk, I'm gonna rev my car or my motorcycle, at 6 o'clock before I go to, work, I'll get them back. And then the next neighbor's doing something, and it just becomes this. Anyways.
Sorry for taking up all this time. I needed to bring it up once I heard.
Like I said, I've been in the Champlain Park for 47 years, and every board meeting I've come to, we want curbings in Champlain Park. Because for 47 years, I've complained about curbings, and nobody's done anything about it. The curbings are 2 feet out of the ground. Non-existing on in front of my property. They raised the road up, and it's right even with my lawn. I had to put a curbing in, a rubber curbing, so the water wouldn't come into my property. Everybody on the street has got humps on their driveway, so the water don't run into them. Now, there's either grants out there someplace or something, because Champlain Park needs curbs.
I'll let you know that Jim is looking to put some of that stuff into his budget.
It's in the budget.
Yeah, and it's a.
But how does that happen? I mean, he's looking to put it into his budget.
He put it in.
What does that mean?
You're right, he did put it in his
I
budget.
already talked to him, and he's got money in his budget, and he's gonna do 500 feet on Iroquois coming into the park, 500 on each side, that's it on his budget. $17 a foot for curbings, and they gotta do the work.
And I'll be honest, a lot of times we talk about, you hear there's grants out there. Most of the grants nowadays, government was very flush with cash in like I'll use the 80s in particular. You could get all kinds of stuff for all kinds of stuff. And nowadays, you're lucky if you get a grant that's an 80-20. And you're not getting 80% of the money. You're putting in 80% for the 20. And that's a good grant. So.
And the grant process is such that you have to hire outside help. It's very expensive to get you through it, and it's not a simple
I know,
process.
that's what they've been telling me for 47 years. I mean.
Well, what about tax money?
What about it?
What do you mean, what about it? Why don't we do prioritize projects?
Absolutely.
Okay, and none of them rise to the level in 47 years that we didn't put some kind of Plattsburgh money in? Forget the grants, I mean.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair question. What we talked about earlier today was people largely think that the highway department's doing a fantastic job because we've got good roads and, a number of things there. So you're right, the money has been prioritized. Has it done the curbing? It goes back to what I said about me and my wife. We may not agree here, but, I get it. I lived in Champlain Park. I directly connect with what you're saying on a personal level. We have to be more imaginative and creative in getting some of those solutions, and we need to hear from folks too, to make those priorities. I think a lot of times we all have something that we personally want, that will better kind of our footprint. But if more people in the park want it, maybe you do a special district overlay. Maybe you do there's different ways to get to that solution. But you gotta kind of find the critical mix.
What I liked especially was your talk about being creative. And, it seems to me, where I live, I don't want the curves, quite frankly, on Cumberland Road. But,
Can I get that right?
if I live there, I think I really close to it.
I'm kind of changing the subject. I'm really concerned about water quality and runoff from the farm fields into the lake, and it doesn't seem like anybody else is concerned. I've gone to Peter Hager, and it basically focuses on Drew, and apparently he does all the right things. And in Vermont, we seem to have some regulations or people are on it, the Champlain Committee or the Basin Program, but over here, nothing seems to be happening other than a plume. Every time it rains, and in the spring, there's this plume of silt, sediment, probably fertilizer, chicken runoff, goes right out into the lake.
I had a comment too that was related to this. I also wanted to say that Jim was in the highway department, his knees, and seeing the trucks going around makes a difference to us. I was wondering if there was an update on this park concept. And one of the comments that I had, I think Nancy may have said this too, is that having some sort of catchment basin near those fields before any of the runoff reaches the road ditch would be a really, really great thing. And how does that would fit in well with the concepts of the park design there?
That was part of the concept for that area.
And I wanted an update of where you are with that.
So, there's a couple things going on here, so let me see if I can try to address it. You know, let me go to the city beach for a second, even though it's not our municipality. Last summer, there was a lot of attention, I think, given to water quality in lots of conversations. And, there's a great argument going on in the interstate, I guess, review of water quality. Is it stuff that's going on in Vermont and it's finding its way over here? I mean, it's shared water. It's not like there's a wall that kind of separates it. Vermont, I would argue, doesn't actually do as good of a job as people think they do. I think they're better at promoting what they do from a standpoint. A couple weeks ago, I think many folks saw that some sludge or fecal type matter was released into Lake Champlain from the Vermont side. I mean, there's a number of things that I think
But
Vermont.
that's from the sewer plant, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's the way that they're regulating material though versus the way that the DEC and some of the agencies and folks here locally, and I think it becomes this pea soup of a situation that it's hard for people to necessarily identify the source for all things. That's not to say that more shouldn't or couldn't be done.
Well, my comment is, there's no buffer at all. Right behind my house, you're getting closer and closer to the fresh ditch of dirt, and then they go around with a brush hog, cut any of the vegetation that's growing, which could help to slow down the flow of the water. They go with spray to kill milkweed, anything else, so you don't have the pollinators. There's absolutely no concern, as far as I'm concerned, about what they're doing, and that's not by where they're talking about the park. That's other areas.
And we should have some more conversation about that. I mean, I need to.
Because I talked to Peter Hager, and he says, well, Drew does everything that he's supposed to do by law. But I think people are afraid of him. He gives eggs to the food shop, free. He buys uniforms and trophies and all that stuff. They don't want to cross him.
Is it one of those, is it part of that property maybe become a cemetery?
I think part of it, yeah.
That will Hager Farm.
Yeah.
Well, not the whole thing.
Now to go to this park thing that you were talking about. It's fairly controversial for a number of reasons. Even on our own board, I wouldn't say that there is unanimous consensus yet. There was an LWRP, a lake water plan, and that was one of several plans. It's approximately $1 million, and it would include moving a road, restructuring the waterfront layout, et cetera, and it has some positive environmental impacts from the way that it was designed. But there's also, I think, a great sense in the community that they don't necessarily want that restructured that way. I can only speak personally, someone that used to live out here on the head. I have very mixed feelings about it. And with all the other plans, I think we can be much more successful going after the other hamlet plans and leave that on the back burner so that we can continue to study and have conversations with residents of Cumberland Head and the rest of our community before we make a commitment to going down that road. So it's not on the front burner. I would argue it's not even on the stool for, the ingredients being put in yet.
Well, as I understand it, as soon as the water hits the ditch, it's a public concern. And I don't know if there is anything that can be done with the Jubilee Farm on several points of pollutants getting into the lake.
I don't know how much politics and, who greases whose palm fits into it, but if you look at my employer and just expanded the dock on Cumberland Head a number of years ago, go down and look at the catchment basin that they had to do for the parking lot. Why isn't that being done for the fields? Gee, I wonder.
It's an ag district.
Agriculture has a great protection.
Exactly. But I would think with the right-of-way, because you keep saying, well, the town has a right-of-way from so many feet from the middle of the road up toward the cornfield, then maybe something can be done in that space for, a buffer, for green. You said they're not doing that much in Vermont. Well, I know that they're planting, trees and willows and things that are going to absorb the pollutants.
We certainly can have more of a conversation on that.
As long as they don't go along with the brush hog and cut everything.
It's not one
They do.
farm. He also has an enormous piece that sits between the lake and Woodruff Pond.
Oh, yeah, the fishing.
And it's draining both ways.
Yep.
And it's draining an enormous
Speak to the
amount of
mausoleum.
chemicals and,
I was gonna do that whether
Change the
whether it was prompted or not.
Yeah, the only one that's his is the rest of it is all leased.
yeah.
That's the only part that he owns is the old Turner Farm. The rest of it is
Just a
leased.
quick comment, though. What's interesting tonight is, I think, as town board members, this kind of forum is very good because the education works both ways. There's things that the town board members have specializations in what they're doing or the committee they're on. So tonight, definitely listening to both of you is kind of educating me about something that I wasn't quite as aware of. So I guess I just want to put that out there, that it is an educational process for us here as we sit at the table in terms of learning about things.
I would just share a point that's been made by two neighbors, because I also see very heavy equipment going down what is almost my backyard these days. I see the runoff regularly going right across the road when I'm going into work. And I understand the agricultural protection, whatever, maybe also. I've got one other concern though that I think I totally have. And that is my front yard is basically Cumberland Bay. I understand, okay, you get the bass boats, money has come to town, they have to do 30 knots going down the bay. It's a law, bass fishermen. But recently, Colin, whom I'm going to drop into the lake the next time I see him, mentioned that he's encouraging jet skis.
Races.
I'm going to invent a little floating mine that goes up into exhausts and just immobilizes engines on those things. It doesn't, I come by the place now. Again, it's a law. If you have a jet ski, you have to do 35 knots. It's noise at a large level. I can deal with the turtles noise coming across the bay. I can deal with the boat that's falling just about. But somewhere, when people are talking about using that play area, you might also consider that let people's front yard to.
Yeah, I was disappointed he said that, I think he was earlier as well.
Yeah, well, you see looking really wet.
The waste of energy.
Did you have a follow-up?
No, I kind of want to shift it a little bit to, I hear a lot about development, more industry coming to the area. Clinton County is probably one of the only counties in the area that's, in the state, that's actually growing, which is, has its positives and negatives. But how come with all this development, my taxes keep going up?
Sure. Well, I'm going to call it the way that I see it. You've probably heard a number of times that we don't have the town tax. That's not true. I don't say that we don't have a town tax, we have special districts. But as you were to look at your tax bill, it is really within the category of your school district that you're probably paying, the majority of the half, for a lot of people. I'm not saying every.
Two tax bills, one of yours and one of theirs.
No, I realize that. No, I realize that. We also, in the town, the way that we budget is on a model of the sales tax, okay? And my personal commitment has been, during my first term, whether re-elected or even running again, is to evaluate really what that looks like to change a model. A lot of towns, what they do is they give the sales tax back to the residents, or the taxpayer, I should say. I'm open to doing that, and if we were ever to change that, I would only see us giving it back directly at 100% of the rate of the value to taxpayers. And then you could see exactly what the tax rate is, that's being modeled forward. There's a number of things that are going on in the climate right now that I personally want to study it more, but I've certainly been having a lot of conversations. But I think a lot of people don't necessarily know all the taxing units, and you see that one big number, and it hits you in the stomach. So,
Along the same lines, there was a annual reassessment, and I know of several people who never received their notice of an increase. What options do they have if they find out after the fact that after the appeal process is ended, do they have?
well, there's a grievance period,
Is that what we're
Right,
talking
well, what I'm
about?
saying is, they didn't find out until after the grievance period, when the neighbors started, everybody started talking and complaining, and then it was like, oh, gee.
Yeah.
Did they not get their bill before that?
They did not get a notice that their assessment had changed.
Again, because that's such a specific case, I think that
They
either,
should, my suggestion, they should call the town assessor's office and ask if there was a notice sent out. And if they're told there was one, ask if they could have a copy of that. Okay? I'm not saying, I think they could at least find out whether or not that occurred.
So Michael, you're saying that you are assessing the taxation situation in the town?
I think,
Only because, the reason is, we're talking a lot of development here.
Yeah.
As soon as you start talking development,
Yep.
both commercial and residential, you're talking increased assessment. In '81, when the town went from a general town tax and a highway town tax, sales tax money covered both the general fund and the highway fund quite handsomely, and it did for many, 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 many years, until, in fact, the town gave money back
Yeah.
to the county, and it was only, I think in 2008, it might have been 2010, I don't remember where, that the town stopped. Apparently, there was not sufficient funds coming in from sales tax, and the town stopped giving money back to the county to give back to the residents, and every year, we keep reading on several occasions, oh man, are we gonna have a sales tax? Aren't we? Is it coming in? Is it not gonna come in? Where are we? And it would seem prudent that you could budget much easier if you could say, we have this assessment, the tax will be X. As opposed to, oh God, the sales tax is down and now we're short and what are we gonna do?
sure, and let me kind of paint it, you'll know a couple of things that I'm saying. So when I became town supervisor, and as anyone should in my position as the chief, financial officer, is reviewing a number of things. And we did not bring back some of the positions because I felt that we could do it differently. We reduced pay in some of the positions because I felt that we could leverage those resources differently. So when I make a statement like that, everything should be on the table until it's off the table. And that statement isn't meant to be snarky or in jest, is I really want to see it from my advantage point. And I felt sometimes as a council person that information that I received wasn't at the level that I would have liked to have received it just because I wasn't the one researching it or delivering it. So it's on my radar, and I would imagine very much that the council is willing to have those conversations. I'm not making a commitment that this upcoming budget, this year's budget will go in that direction, but we need to have ongoing conversations like these so that we can hear from our constituents, taxpayers and residents. One of the things that this board did recently, starting this year, and I want to make sure that this gets out there, we changed our public comment period. Okay, we used to only have public comment period during our work sessions. And now we have public comment at both our work sessions and our town board meetings. And it's approximately, really, if you think about it, the first half hour of our meetings where people can come. They have about 5 minutes where they can address the board with a variety of things. The reason that we're using the e-newsletter, the reason that we're using social media, the reason that we are holding this town hall or forum tonight is to increase our conversations and the dialogue with you folks through this idea of more accessible leadership. So, we'll continue to explore that topic, but I want to make sure that we're not just doing it in this vacuum of, well, we did it this way once, now we're doing it this way. So more to come on that though.
I for one appreciated that you're here, Cumberland Head. That's just me. I should have been to the other meetings earlier. But if we knew there was, I don't know if we should say regular, but it's appreciated to have the board here and to have some opportunities close and it's easy. It's nice to come over.
I'd like to make a comment on it because the subject of sales tax revenue came up. And one of the things that was talked about was we got to a point where, we didn't have sufficient sales tax revenue to cover. What wasn't mentioned, there was a point where the county changed the formula and they cut back on the percentage that we received. And many people feel that, because they know that a lot of sales tax revenue is generated in the town of Plattsburgh because a lot of commercial ventures occur in the town of Plattsburgh. But less than I hesitate to put a percentage on it right now because I don't have the number in front of me, but I'm going to throw out a number and I think I'm safe. Less than 5% of the sales tax that is raised in Clinton County is paid to the town of Plattsburgh. And probably it is safe to say that at least 65% of the sales tax is raised in the town of Plattsburgh. And I think I'm being very conservative with that. Okay? But just so that people understand the lack of equity in that arrangement. Okay?
But that's a law.
Huh?
But that's the law.
That's not the law. That is the decision of the county legislature as to how they wish to allocate the sales tax revenue.
Isn't that the law?
Huh?
Doesn't the legislature make the law?
Pardon? They don't have to make it the way it is made.
But they
That
did.
is their decision.
But they did, so that's the law.
No, but the way it's the law, it is the decision of the legislature. There's a gigantic difference there. Okay?
Policy they've set.
And there was a shortfall because of Saranac Partners, I think. A big shortfall to the town.
I just saw your hand, I wanted to.
a lot of the sales tax is collected in the town. But I think the way the county looked at it, does that mean the town should get it because it's collected here? People all over put that tax money in, not just down Plattsburgh.
We can relitigate it, it was a couple of years of fighting. I mean, I was here.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's,
But that was
it is a
I think that was their point.
difficult issue.
I will not even venture to go into the percentages because I just won't say it correctly, but I will go so far as to say there are many different philosophies about how that money should be taken, drawn in, as well as allocated. It's the Clinton County. I mean, I think you, right there is the umbrella to understand some of the stresses that I think folks in the town look at is a lot of the infrastructure is getting stressed. You know, could the percentage be negotiated or reworked? You know, should some of the towns that have some of the windmills that are bringing in some of the additional funds, you know, should they get less of a sales tax portion, you know, to offset? I mean, so again, there's lots of philosophies out there. But back to the initial question that Debbie brought up is, I think we need to continue to evaluate and have some conversations about what models work for the long-term solution as our region moves forward. So, yeah.
I don't know whose idea it was, but, and what taxing group it is, but people get a rebate check if you don't exceed the, you know, okay, start. That seems like a waste of money and time in writing checks and sending them in the mail. How much does all that cost? They could take it off the tax bill or apply it for next year.
You do that just before election.
It was not a good idea.
I would agree.
The governor
Dumb.
the governor was personally responsible.
Yeah, but I'll go one step further though, how that's connected, and that's the New York State tax cap, which is, you know, you often hear about, you know, a 2%. It's not a true 2%, but one of the reasons that I have been a vocal supporter of it in the general respect is I think it's important for us as your elected officials to communicate with you about the direction of how we are using
Oh, yeah, no, I think that's good. It's just the, you know, this rebate thing of spending the time and the money and the people writing checks, you know, put on next year's bill of production or something. It just doesn't make sense sending all the checks out. Everybody gets happy. Short time, and they pay it next year.
There's a certain someone who wants that
Done before
check
election.
to go out prior to
They look good.
the election that he is involved with.
It's a gift.
I certainly do not want to stop conversation, but I just want to do a check-in. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns?
One, just one. It's on, it's on an entirely different subject, then I'm leaving. 2 weeks, this is for Marty. 2 weeks ago, at the town board meeting, you made the statement that if people don't hook up for gas this year, they're SOL. What do you mean by that?
I meant that the program that is, that NYSEG compelled to
They're putting in more gas than they have to.
put in more gas lines,
Yeah,
okay, is,
That's-
it will run its course this year,
right.
okay? If they're in those zones, and they don't get their paperwork in, and they don't get themselves hooked up, and they don't get a line going down their street, they're gonna have a heck of a time to try to get a line down that street in the future.
Well, all those streets in that plan are gonna be completed. So those people, everybody's gonna have the gas in front of their house. That was in the plan.
Okay, look, might I clarify, because I reached out to NYSEG. So if the line goes in front of your house.
Yep.
Okay, and you opt for whatever reason not to hook up, okay? In a year from now, you can express interest and you can connect to that line.
Exactly.
Okay. The one thing that I would probably put out there to the community to strongly encourage folks to do, where we have seen some complications, as say this is neighbor Bob, you know, and here I am, and Bob really wants natural gas. Okay, I don't want it. I don't plan on hooking up. If I don't allow the pipe to go through my property line, though, okay, Bob's not going to get natural gas.
Do you own both sides of the road?
Well, and I'm just saying it from a very generic standpoint, because there's a level of complications of that. But there are some situations where folks, you know, in this middle position have not allowed through the right of way, and then this individual can't get it, and subsequently anybody, you know, moving forward.
That's a very, I only know of 2 cases
Well,
that it happened.
yeah, there's
It's
a couple,
rare.
well, it's not as rare because there's a couple going on Keystone right now. And so it's maybe here, but there's a number of places in the town. And this goes back to, again, my initial conversation of talk to your neighbors. Because I think some people don't always necessarily know that they can't get, you know, that natural gas because they think that maybe it'll go around another way or under the road and different things like that.
I have to admit, although we have a workable system now, I have to admit that I'm feeling a bit bitter about the natural gas situation.
Sure.
Because we were all told that if the school signed on, all of the head would have natural gas. And that absolutely wasn't the case. And so I have to take the opportunity to express bitterness about that.
And I know there are a number of people on the, you know, towards the end of the head. I can't personally, I can't personally speak to that. It was, you know, wasn't part of those conversations, but I've had conversations with people on their doors though, where, you know, the length and distance between became cost prohibitive, so they weren't getting their natural gas.
But we supported the natural gas because we were told that with these circumstances, all of the head would have natural gas. So I think it was kind of a dishonesty on part of NICEAG on that.
Michael, I spoke with NICEAG. I did hook up to natural gas, and we've saved over $2,500 this year alone in fuel costs, which we're very happy about. But I talked to them. There were a lot of people on the end of Cumberland Head who would like to have gas.
Yep.
And NICEAG actually said, and of course, one of the reasons that it was prohibited was because of the run by where the Jurors Farm is. All of that, there are no homes there. So they said that if the people on that end of Cumberland Head really wanted gas, that they could get together and ask NICEAG to run the pipe. They'd have to pay that extra pipe where there are no houses. They'd have to pay for that. But if enough of them are willing to opt for natural gas, they could have it.
Well, I'm a resident there and they never expressed that to me.
Well, I know, you have to agree, you have to go and talk.
We have, but that was not,
Yeah, and one of the things that we've done is last year we had a forum with NICEAG. I'm trying to get them to do another one this year. You know, I regularly, not every week, you know, every month, but I've been in communication with Mike Keenan, I believe his name is, about a number of these things, because I think it's very easy for companies, organizations and stuff to go through, and if you don't keep track of them, that they can change what they're promising. There are other areas in the community, we're talking about kind of the map where the roads are. It's now disputed that there were a couple of roads that were on an earlier version of some maps that now aren't on the map at all. So, you know, we're trying to go back to a number of things to advocate on behalf of you folks as well.
And it wasn't NICEAG, unilaterally you made the decision. The Public Service Commission is, they're really the one that can't do.
Well, so Pete and I requested information about natural gas sometime before this came up. And so we asked them about it, and they said, oh, we can't find your application.
Oops.
Yeah, so we applied, and I talked to them. And then I go look at the maps and come to find out the maps were made at a date prior to when I talked to them. So they had no intention of giving us natural gas anyway. So it was really infuriating that I felt that they were dishonest with that. But
Subsidiary of United Airlines.
I'd like to
I'm okay with it, but I just think it's important to express.
I'd like to offer you just one more update. Many of you have probably been following it in the news. If you're not, please allow me to go a little bit back into the time. Approximately 2015, the town of Plattsburgh and the town of Ellenburg were both notified by the New York State Division of Cemeteries. The New York Division of Cemeteries, for lack of better words, declared Whispering Maples, the mausoleum, as defunct. And because of the statute of New York State, it would become the responsibilities of the local municipalities. Both of our towns have been working in collaboration to advocate for ourselves, as well as you as taxpayers. Now, some of the things that we've been able to do successfully to date is they are still not the town's responsibilities currently. So 2015 to 2017, that's been, I would say a point of success because we've been beating back the state to hold them accountable for some of the poor decisions that have led to this situation. Both of the facilities in Ellenburg and in Plattsburgh really are at a disgraceful level. We have parents, grandparents, children, veterans in these facilities. There have been leaks, the roofs need to be fixed, it's musty, the backside was unfinished in the town of Plattsburgh. There's a number of things that are wrong with the facilities. Several $1 million needs to go into the restoration. We were also in a position where the perpetual care fund of the facilities were
Go on.
completed, thank you. And I don't have counsel here tonight to maybe edit maybe some of my statements, but so what we did is with the board, and I've been working with Jason Dezan, who's the Ellenburg Town Supervisor since I've been in the role, and we went down to Albany. We met with pretty much every entity of government. I call it the governmental gauntlet. We met with the comptroller's office, the AG's office. We met with folks on the second floor. And Senator Little has been a tenacious advocate on our behalf. And Janet was when she was in office, and Assemblyman Jones is now taking up that position as well. So to date, we have been able to successfully secure $300,000 to be divided between the two municipalities for perpetual care. That was in last year's state budget. This year's budget, because the New York State Division of Cemeteries budget is swept every year, meaning they kind of take it out and reallocate it to different pockets of need across, Senator Little was able to champion about $2 million plus to go back in, so when the application is filled out, which we've now done, that those funds are available to address the structural issues of the facilities. Now, we're all taxpayers, and I will be the first person to acknowledge that as a New York State taxpayer, we are all putting money into these facilities. One of the things that we've been trying to do, though, is to alleviate as much of the burden on the local municipal folks, with the situation going on there. I think Ellenburg lives approximately 14% below the poverty rate. Generally speaking, they don't have the same tax base as we do. Working in collaboration with them, we've been able to secure those funds. But eventually, they will become the town's responsibilities. Senator Little has gone so far as to say recently that she hopes that something can be done where they can go back into private ownership. That's not what will happen immediately. Who knows if it can get back to that level. But we continue to advocate and have those conversations. My personal position is I want to see us do the moral and ethical thing for those that have loved ones there. They're not just members of our municipality, they're members all around the region. In fact, some people are laid to rest there that, were once here, that was kind of their final resting place. So there's a number of things going on. The construction we anticipate will be happening or beginning within the next several weeks. With the transition to the municipalities around anywhere between October to December of 2017. However, I go back to my original statement, government works in glacial speed. In this case, it's been to our benefit because we've been able to engage Senator Little and formerly Jan and now Assemblyman Jones by having some of this conversation that we can work with some different agencies. We have been told that both the Comptroller's Office and the AG's office are doing independent investigations because they are quote-unquote active investigations. They won't share material as to what they're doing and how they're proceeding. But I'm comforted to know that it has at least gotten to that level that the Comptroller and the AG have an interest in this situation. Yep.
Not that I've got one, but are they still selling? Is there income coming in from people who are interested?
Yep, so there's a couple other follow-up pieces to it. So when they become our property, okay, Ellenburg and the town of Plattsburgh will be split, and they have a crematorium. They plan, as of right now, to continue to operate the crematorium, which would bring in some additional revenue. We are looking at maybe a shared service agreement to use some of their employees to do the entombments, so that we don't have to have another employee on staff. When an individual purchases a slot, there's some fee structures, for burial, etc. I'm personally of the opinion that we should put a moratorium on not selling any more of the slots. I'll go into that in a moment. Currently, under the receivership, who's not getting paid, she's only doing things at cost, her travel up here and things like that. She's selling spaces for those that have an interest. As you can imagine with the current state, people are not very actively looking. There's been some, and Ricky ultimately as our town clerk will have most of the jurisdiction over the mausoleum. The reason that I am advocating that we have a moratorium at least for a year is the New York State Division of Cemetery failed in ways that I can't really even capture into words. And I don't want to be in the mausoleum business any more than we have to be. You know what I mean? We certainly can make sure that we honor those that have contracts and plan to be there for their final resting place. We can certainly make sure to get the facilities up to the way that they need to be and do the mowing and stuff like that. But I don't want to be actively involved in the mausoleum business any longer than the last contract that was signed. And that's just my personal stance. The board will have to wrestle with that in the coming months. But we're taking a lot of the lead from Connie Goddard, who's the receiver, and she actually is she runs the cemetery down in the Queensbury. So she's very good.
Where's the town of Plattsburgh?
On the Tom Miller Road. It's set back a ways.
It's a big kind of a big grant.
What about if let's say I own a crypt space and I want to sell it to you? Who would be taking?
That wouldn't happen.
What?
No sale.
Nice try, Debbie.
But yeah,
So, who would take care of all that? Would that just be a private sale, or would we now have to go through the clerk's office in a sale? Because I own property.
yeah, some of those details, we're still awaiting how to process some of that stuff. One of the things that Connie had the ability to do in her position was you could go in there and you would see red for sale signs.
I know, I've seen
She
it.
stopped that, and anybody that wanted to facilitate an exchange, she took on some responsibility for kind of getting things connected. I would imagine, but I can't say for certain, that Ricky will be involved with some of that paperwork. One of my biggest fears, to be honest, is Connie's been doing a lot of good work in getting the paperwork together, and one of the reasons I don't want to keep selling the spots is, imagine one day somebody needs to be entombed and they open the crypt and there's somebody in there already because the paperwork wasn't right. That would be horrible. If we continue to sell spots and not have, a buffer of sorts, then we really have a situation. So there's many reasons that I don't want to sell it.
Although it is revenue.
It is, we have some perpetual care funds, and
That's what I mean.
we are working where we can go back to the New York State Division of Cemeteries for other funds in the future. So it's not a one and done.
That's good.
Why does that end up with the town instead of the county or state?
Because of the way that the statute is, abandoned cemeteries, which we have some in the town already, the way that it's currently written is you basically have the responsibility to mow it about 3 times a year. But a mausoleum is a very different structure. And because of that, and the way that the state has designated it, they see it as a cemetery.
Part of the reason that we've been as successful as we've been in getting the state to move in the direction that we want them to move in is we believe that they overreached considerably in making a decision that this situation was analogous to the cemetery law. Where we feel that that may not be at all the case, and that had it gone to court, the court may not have held, had we gone to court, we may have lost. But I think they were equally concerned that if they went to court, they might not have won.
Well, it's nice to avoid litigation.
It's in a very emotional situation. I mean, every single week, at least weekly, sometimes I have multiple people in a day that will be in my office crying. I mean, I'm not being dramatic. I mean, very sincere, because people are concerned about their parents, their grandparents, because of the situation of what it's like. So, it really is, and I don't know else how to capture it.
It's like subdivisions used to have private septic or private water. That was really good to.
Well, at least they're not lying on the back cover.
Other questions, comments, concerns? Thanks for the good of the order. The last thing that I'll say, I know I talked a lot tonight, I really appreciate you folks coming out. I think we have a remarkable community. If you see me, even if it's over cantaloupes and Hannaford's, feel free to say hi. Let me know. You're more than welcome to ever schedule an appointment with me at Town Hall. I try to meet with people after hours as well, if that's not convenient for you folks. My commitment is to try to, connect with you as best as possible, and I know the board is the same. So, do appreciate you coming out tonight. Please sign up for e-news and notices, and again, our town board meetings or work sessions, they alternate, are Thursdays, 6 PM, and there's public comment at each one of those. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, don't feel like this is your last opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.